Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is Lap Guide for Circuit de la Sarthe with the Toyota GR Yaris. Let's get this started. Your first braking point is going to be a little tricky since you want to keep the car nice and stable all the way through. So take most of this first turn flat out, and once you get close to the apex, that is when you want to start to lift off our throttle, and just as this turn is about to end, you want to slowly start to apply the brakes. You eventually want to bring yourself at full braking power for a short moment, just trying to keep the car nice and stable, then slowly ease off of the brakes and turn in. You do want to be careful with these curves since they're pretty inconsistent and can get you a penalty. Do not use any braking nor throttle as you go on the curves, otherwise you will definitely get an off-track penalty. You also want to do plenty of throttle control to make sure that the car is able to not end up understeering onto the off-track area. Then you want to look for this final little cone that is on the right, and you want to brake just after you pass it. Try to brake hard in a straight line, and you only want to brake hard for a short moment. Just bring yourself into the inside of this left turn and then fully accelerate your way out. There's two braking points here. The first one is just after you hear the new sector start. The second one is just before the blue area on the right starts. Brake hard for a very short moment, ease off of the brakes, take advantage of the curbs, and bring yourself back to the tarmac before the curb on the left ends. And a quick note, you can rev out first through fourth gears, but when you're going from fifth gear to sixth gear, you want to shift when the bar on the bottom of the screen is around 85% full. So your next braking point is going to be just before you reach the 200 meter mark, and it should be coming up right now. So you want to brake just before you pass it. Brake as much as you can in a straight line to keep the car nice and stable. Slowly start to ease off of the brakes as you turn in. Do not get too much onto the curves. Just try to go as smoothly as you can through all these turns. Get the car pointing where you want to go before you start to fully accelerate. And once again, do not get too much onto the curves for this chicane and the chicane that is coming up. Let's go ahead and fast forward through this. Brake just after you pass the 200 meter mark, and you can actually use the transition from the grass to the dirt on the right as your braking point. And you want to go a little slower through this chicane compared to the last one we just went through. Once again, just try to be nice and smooth. Do not get too much onto the curves. Get the car pointing where you want to go, and then fully accelerate. So in a moment, we're going to go ahead and fast forward through this again. There we go. So you want to stay on the left side of the track, then bring yourself to the right side of the track and brake just before the curb on the right starts. Once again, brake as much as you can in a straight line. Go down to third gear, and once you hit the apex, you can quickly get on the throttle. In a moment, we're going to be going through what is probably the hardest part of this whole combination, so we'll try to go through it nice and slowly. So let's just fast forward through this, and here we go. So this is the hard part. So just before you pass the 100 meter mark, or the green area that is on the left, you want to lift off our throttle and slowly feather in the brakes. Do not be too harsh on the brakes. You want the car to still be able to make the turn while being able to slow down and still being able to remain stable. If you do this right, the car will nicely slow down and it'll do whatever you want it to do. And just be nice and careful as you accelerate your way out. Then brake before you reach the 50 meter mark. Brake a little bit earlier than I do here, as you want to make sure that you don't end up going too wide. And you also want to stay on third gear since the second gear is going to be a little short. So let's fast forward through this one more time. Look for the green area that is on the left as you want to brake before you pass it. Brake hard for a very short moment. Slowly ease off of the brakes. Hug the right side of this turn. Try to bring yourself to the right side of the track so you can take this left turn flat out. And then as you go through this left turn, you then want to ease off of the throttle. Use a little bit of braking if you need to for this right turn, but for the most part, you just want to do more throttle control. Same thing goes with this turn. Just lift off of the throttle, let the car do the rotation, and then fully accelerate. Now, these final series of turns are a little tricky, so I'll go through it in slow motion. Halfway into the pit lane entrance on the right, you want to brake hard for a short moment. Carefully ease off of the brakes as you're starting to go through the chicane. Try to be smooth on your braking, turning, and accelerating to keep the car nice and stable. Then just before the curb on the right starts, you want to use a little bit more braking, take advantage of the curves, nice and careful with the throttle input, and you are good to go. So hopefully this helps make your life a bit easier on this weird combination, and I'm going to sign off now. So this is Mr. CA, wishing you a good race, and I'll see you in the next video.